Battle Dress by Amy Efaw. Chapter 5. Tuesday, 29th June, 0530. The door opened with a bang. I shot up in my bed, shaky from adrenaline and lack of sleep. Light from the hallway flooded into the room. It was still dark outside. "Feet on the floor, boneheads!" I squinted at the silhouette in the doorway. Cadet Daly. The overhead lights snapped on, and simultaneously our metal trash cans sailed across the room, crashing against the foot of my bed. "Let's go! On your feet! I want you standing tall and looking good, wearing Gym Alpha outside my room at 0545. Got that?" My feet hit the floor, and I scrambled into the position of attention. "Yes, sir!" Gabrielle and I yelled, trying our best to sound wide awake and eager. Cadet Daly left, slamming the door. I checked my watch. 5:32. I subtracted in my head. That gives us 13 minutes. We had no alarm clocks. I had turned mine over to Cadet Daly last night. "Don't worry about getting up on time," Cadet Daly had said. "I'll make sure you're awake." He certainly had. I stumbled to the sink. My exhausted brain buzzed like radio static. Gabrielle and I had spent most of the night scurrying around in the dark with army flashlights to finish fixing up our room. And now it was immaculate. Too immaculate. Every drawer, shelf, and closet in the room had conformed to the diagrams in the BAG. Every pair of underwear, socks, and gloves, every undershirt, handkerchief, and bra was folded and positioned accordingly. The uniforms hanging in the wardrobe closets faced left, their hangers canted right. Our combat boots and shoes were lined up along the lengths of our beds, laced with toes pointing to the center of the room. I wasn't used to such orderliness. It made me feel unsettled somehow. I turned on the water and reached into my medicine cabinet for my toothbrush. "I am not a morning person," Gabrielle mumbled, joining me at the sink. "I'm not a night person. I'm a 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. person. The rest of the day, I'm worthless. Totally worthless." I wanted to tell her that I was definitely a night person, that once I made it past midnight, I was good until morning. But I was afraid she'd think I was weird, so I said nothing. The two of us took turns washing our faces, brushing our teeth, and putting in contacts in silence. Loud music started blasting in the hallway. The theme music from the classic movie Rocky. Back home, construction workers used to serenade me with that tune as I ran past them. It had always made me run a little faster and a little better. Now it only made me want to hide. Gabrielle and I looked at each other. "It sounds like it's coming over the PA system," she said. She stood on her toes and leaned over the sink to remove a tube of lotion from her medicine cabinet. "They probably want to make sure that we're really awake." I watched her put a blob of lotion under each eye and rub it in. "Well, it works. I'm definitely awake." I pulled on my white socks and running shoes. Last night, before he'd left, Ping told us to wear Gym Alpha to bed, and I was glad we had. Outside our door echoed the tormented cries of the uninformed souls who hadn't, and were now catching all kinds of heat as they braved the hallways to retrieve their Gym Alpha from their lockers in the latrines. The music changed. The eerie theme from another classic movie, that Clint Eastwood western, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. One of my dad's late-night cable favorites was playing now. I paced back and forth across the room. I checked my watch. I wasn't about to go out into that hallway of horrors a second before I had to. Gabrielle was walking in circles near the door, checking her watch and adjusting her bun. Finally she said, "It's 5:42. Think we should go?" My stomach jumped, but I nodded. Gabrielle opened the door a crack and peeked outside. "Those guys next door. What are their names again?" she whispered. "Boguslavsky and McGill." "Yeah, them. They just left." She turned away from the door and faced me. "Do I look okay?" Look okay? I hadn't given much thought to my looks. At home I would have never left to go anywhere without a good half hour of primping, as my mother loved to call it. We had fought many gruesome battles over it. Battles in which my hair straightener was the booty confiscated and locked away inside my mother's room, and my makeup was the carnage strewn in broken pieces across the yard. But today, primping just didn't seem that important anymore. "Well?" Gabrielle asked impatiently. "I don't look fat in these stupid shorts, do I?" "Fat?" I asked. "At a time like this, who gives a rip if you look fat?" I shook my head. "You're not fat, Gabrielle." I checked my watch again. "Oh, I always look fat in shorts, because I'm so short." She stared up at me. For the first time, I noticed how short she really was. The top of her head barely reached my shoulder. I had to get a waiver to get in here, you know. I'm only 5 feet tall. She looked down at her feet and studied her running shoes. "Well, actually, I'm 4 feet 11 and a half. "Well, I really didn't notice," I said. She frowned. "What a dumb thing to say. I mean, I noticed that you're short, but not that short." "Great. That was even worse." "You look fine, Gab." I checked my watch once more. "Come on, we've got to get there. We have 1 minute." "Okay." She pulled up her socks. "I'll go first." She charged out into the hallway. I followed, pulling the door closed behind me. She made a sharp right turn, only inches from the wall, and pinged toward Cadet Daly's room. The rest of our squad was already there, lined up with their backs to the wall. Cadet Daly paced before them, yelling something about a dress-off. Dress-off? Who's wearing a dress? "I was just having a little chat with your illustrious squad mates about dress-offs," he snarled at us. He stopped pacing and studied all of us, from head to running shoe toe. You maggots are so unmilitary, you make me want to puke. Dress-offs, I should know this. Words, uniforms, and names whirled around my brain like snow flurries. Then I remembered. The thing we did yesterday when we got ready for the parade. Wrapping our shirts tightly around ourselves and tucking them into our trousers. The way people wrap Christmas presents. But why in the world do we need dress-offs to go outside and sweat? You ragbags look like you just crawled out of bed. He looked at his watch and snorted. We've got to go to formation now. But first let me get one thing through your brainless boneheads. He took a huge breath and roared. I am not pleased with your performance this morning, 3rd Squad. You better knock yourselves together or I will see to it that you are gone come lunch formation. Do I make myself absolutely clear? Yes, sir. Good. Now, 3rd Squad. Right face. We turned. Davis, you're leading. Go down the hall till you get to the stairwell. Don't miss it. Then down the stairs till you reach the sally port. I'll take it from there. Think you can handle that? Yes, sir. To the stairwell, down the stairs, into the sally port. I had done it a million times yesterday, but never with people following me. I sucked in a shaky breath. Just don't miss the stairs. The simplest tasks were suddenly impossibly difficult here. Good. 3rd Squad, move out! I rushed along the wall and made it down the stairs. When we reached the sally port, Cadet Daly led us out toward the plain, where we had marched for our parents only 12 hours ago. The sun was just beginning to splash color across the sky, and the outlines of the granite buildings were starting to emerge out of the darkness. The air was cool but damp. H Company, fall in! Yelled an upper-class cadet as we scurried to our places. In unison, 4 other upperclassmen each bellowed at their platoons. Cadet Black was one of them. 3rd Platoon, fall in! Cadet Daly had told us yesterday that Cadet Black was our platoon sergeant. He was the guy whom everyone in 3rd Platoon, including the squad leaders, would answer to. 3rd Squad, fall in! Cadet Daly yelled. Into the position of attention! We hustled into our spots we had been assigned before dinner formation yesterday. The 4 squads of 3rd Platoon lined up in 4 rows, one behind the other, facing Cadet Black. The 4 squad leaders stood in the far right position, anchoring down their squads. We new cadets stood in height order. In my squad, new Cadet Zero, the tallest, stood beside Cadet Daly. Gabrielle, the shortest, was on the far left end. My spot next to Ping was somewhere in between. H Company, with its 4 platoons, now formed a giant square, divided into 4 equal parts. 2 platoons in the front and 2 in the back. 2 cadets stood facing us at the very front of the formation. One held the guidon, a yellow flag with a black H hanging from a tall staff. The other was our first sergeant, Cadet Stockel. I recognized his peach fuzz-covered, wire-framed head. Just the sight of him made my armpits sweat. Please don't see me. Cadet Black saluted his squad leaders as each reported how many new cadets in their squad were present and how many were not. When all the platoons were ready, First Sergeant Stockel received each platoon's attendance report. Then Cadet Haywood, our company commander, walked briskly to the front of our formation. He exchanged salutes with First Sergeant Stockel, who left for the rear. From my spot tucked inside 3rd Squad, 3rd Platoon, I felt my skin tingling as I watched all the precise movements around me. All the squads were straight, all the platoons square. Everything was perfectly organized. It reminded me a little of standing in the center of the football field with my high school marching band during the halftime show. Only this was 100 times better. Mr. Rodwell, my band director, would have killed for us to look this good. "Report!" called a lone cadet from the center of the plain, his voice drifting towards us across the grassy field. One by one, the company commanders answered. Alpha Company, all accounted for. Bravo Company, all accounted for. Charlie Company, 1 unaccounted for. When it was Cadet Haywood's turn, he saluted and yelled, Hotel Company, all accounted for. India Company, all accounted for. From some distant corner of the plain, a bugle pierced the morning air, sounding like a call to battle. Then a cannon fired. For one still second, all of West Point seemed to hold its breath. Cadet Haywood broke the silence. He shouted at us over his right shoulder. H Company, present! Present! Echoed the platoon sergeants. Arms! And everyone, cadet and new cadet alike, raised their right hand to salute the flag as it climbed the flagpole, formally declaring that June 29th was a new day. 06:15. After marching into North Area, we did stretching exercises and calisthenics to the commands of the bellowing cadets standing on what looked like an oversized collapsible card table. We did repetition after repetition of familiar exercises with new names, like the side straddle hop, jumping jacks, and the turn and bend, toe touches, and a few new ones like the standing long sit and the high jumper, and all the while upperclassmen circled around us, spewing corrections and insults. When we finished, First Sergeant Stockel ordered the platoon to line up in reverse height order behind the squad leaders. Stretch on your own, 3rd Platoon, Cadet Black said. Get ready for the run. I'm setting the pace and you're gonna get smoked. I felt the pre-race jitters coming on. I stretched my quads and eyed Cadet Black, sizing him up like I did my competitors before a race. He looks pretty strong. His legs were long and lean, but muscular. Definitely long-distance runner's legs. I watched the other new cadets twisting and bending around me. How fast can these guys run? I bent over at the waist without bending my knees and touched my palms to the ground. I noticed that the other companies in North Area were assembling for the run too. What do you have, Davis? Rubber bands for legs? I snapped to the position of attention, but Cadet Daly had already passed me on his way to stand at the front of the platoon with the other squad leaders. Hotel company! Yelled First Sergeant Stockel. Fall in! He waited until we all stood at attention, then shouted, Quick time march! We walked with quick long strides. I felt more like I was bouncing than marching in my springy running shoes. Left, 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 right. He called, his voice amplified 3 times louder as we marched through a sally port. Double time! March! And we were off, trotting at the pace of about 8.5 minutes per mile. Cadet Black took over the commands for 3rd Platoon. Left, 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 you're right, left, he called in his sing-song voice. We passed a statue and the plane on our right. A whole lot of left, left, yo, right, left. On our left stood 2 mansions, and behind them, the brick gymnasium where the bus had dropped us less than 24 hours ago. When that left foot hits the ground, I want to hear that clapping sound, sang Cadet Black. He ran to the left of our formation, looking at us as he ran. Okay, 3rd Platoon, when I say a phrase, you repeat it back to me, loud and in a motivated manner. It'll keep your mind off of the running and keep you in step. If you can't hang with the pace, exit the formation. Someone will drop back to police up your sorry carcass. Then he really let loose. But we won't have any fallouts in this formation, will we, 3rd Platoon? No, sir, we yelled back. Left, 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 yo right, yo left, he sang on. I sang back as loudly as I could. I felt great. The pace was too easy, but at least I was running. I felt more relaxed than I had since my dad had driven the Volvo through West Point's gate yesterday morning. Left, left, keep it in step. Ping was running in front of me. I watched his feet, making sure I stayed in step. He seemed to have good rhythm. He never messed up once. We hung a left. Huge, identical brick houses with enclosed porches and manicured lawns lined the street. Okay now, 3rd Platoon, listen up, yelled Cadet Black. C-130 rolling down the strip, he sang. I echoed his phrase with the other new cadets, having no idea what I was singing about. I accidentally stepped on the back of Ping's shoe. Sorry, I whispered. He must think I'm totally uncoordinated. 64 troopers on a one-way trip. Cadet Black really did have a great voice, and not too low. I could sing with him. Stand up, hook up, shuffle to the door. Some of the guys in the platoon were struggling with the pace. I'm barely breathing. They must really be out of shape. And I was surprised to see that the companies ahead of us had already dropped people. New cadets littered the sidewalks beside the road. 1 here, 2 or 3 there, bent over or trotting along, trying to catch their breath. Most of them, I noticed, were girls. Jump right out and count to 4. I looked over Ping's head for Gabrielle. She was hanging in there, her red bun bouncing behind Cadet Daly. Just keep it up, Gab. Don't drop out. If my chute don't open wide. I could hear the loud chanting of the platoons in front of us and behind us. I'd sure hate to live on this street, being woken up at 6:30 in the morning. I've got a reserve by my side. A reserve? What's a reserve? If that one should fail me too. I repeated after him, wondering what came next. It was like listening to a story. Look out below, I'm coming through. A couple of guys made a loud guttural noise in response. Hoo-ah! Cadet Black grinned and started singing about 2 old ladies laying in bed, wanting to be airborne rangers, whatever that meant. And after that, something about a granny meeting St. Peter at the pearly gates and making him do push-ups. I was really getting into it now, and so was everyone else, and we were loud, actually having fun repeating these crazy songs. But what about the people who live on this street? They must hate us. I looked at my watch. We had run for 9 minutes. Another company with its gold and black guide on leading the way ran towards us on the other side of the street. Sound off now, 3rd Platoon, hollered Cadet Black, punching the air with his fist toward the oncoming company, passing by on our left. Let's let India Company know that we own this road. Listen up. Hold your nose and bow your head, he sang, and we repeated after him. We are passing by the dead. Then Cadet Black directed all of the insults he could muster at them. Hey, you on the left! Sick call, looking weak! And after every phrase, we yelled our loudest. I could see the open mouths of India Company's new cadets as we passed, giving it right back to us. I felt the energy building all around me. It was like being at a pep rally, and suddenly I was proud to be in the 3rd Platoon. We were the loudest and the best. Who cared about the sleeping residents of this street? We did own this road.